Why are the married couples not having sex, Lord? Why are they not being intimate? I had to ask. We have read about a few things with the books that we read, of course, one including The Surrendered Wife, one including the proper feeding and care of husbands. And we talk about this topic quite frequently, and it's one that is a bit of a touchy subject because sometimes we get very offended. Now, I did take some time in a post to ask the wives, what is going on? Why are we not being intimate? What are some of our objections to intimacy? And I want to talk about that today, and not only just talk about it to voice those concerns, but maybe even offer some solutions to the wives, because I just feel like, why not? So user 4891 said that not in the mood, not feeling connected, not properly providing, not feeling desired outside of the bedroom. My significant other is avoidant, so absolutely emotionless. And I asked her, I said, so he's having trouble being intimate outside of the bedroom. She said, yep, no emotion at all outside of the bedroom. We don't hug, hold hands, none of that. I don't feel connected to him, therefore I don't desire him sexually. And so I think, and she did clarify that SO when she said significant other, she's saying her spouse. I do think that this is important to bring up because I will say that this is a bit of a common theme. We often hear as a rebuttal to why there's no intimacy happening or why the wives are saying, no, honey, not tonight. I'm tired. I'm not in the mood. I'm overwhelmed. It does sometimes have to do with the fact that men have a tendency to believe that intimacy is only in that bedroom. But the intimacy is in you taking that trash out, sir. The intimacy is in you complimenting me outside of the bedroom, telling me I look pretty today, telling me how beautiful I am, giving me a little hug from behind, holding my hand. And I think that that's something, because we don't have these conversations, and also there's another part of that. Sometimes, I don't want to put all the blame on the men. Sometimes the intimacy outside of the bedroom stops because we're not connecting with our husbands in a way that allows them to be intimate with us outside of the bedroom, right? So we're not being appreciative. We're not adoring them. We're not expressing gratitude for the things that they're doing. We're not being their number one fan. We're not hyping them up. We're not stroking the ego, right? And so as a result, they're not being intimate with us. And this is something, before you disagree with me, ladies, I want you to spend the next week being intentional with your husband. I actually have, if you need help with this, download Wifey Bingo. It's at the link in my bio should be on all platforms, but TikTok is probably the easiest one to get to. Go to TikTok and click the link in my bio, scroll down a bit, and you'll see Wifey Bingo. It is a calendar download where you have one thing that you do every single day to show up in your relationship. And it's designed to make you be more aware and more intentional of these things, right? So I challenge you to just take a week and focus on doing something every single day. Focus on complimenting your husband. Focus on showing up for your husband in these ways that are listed in Wifey Bingo. And see if his regard for you changes. And then I challenge you to do it for 30 days. Okay? And if you enjoy that, just come back and get the Wifey Journal, because the Wifey Journal is an absolute gem. It has helped so many women. I am so impressed. We did 2 Wifey challenges interactive, and the feedback from the ladies that actually participated and did the assignments is phenomenal. The way that they're saying their relationships are changing, the way that they're saying that their husbands are changing towards them, being more intimate, being more loving, being more appreciative, taking them on random dates. Hello. And then even the ladies who were doing the standalone and working through the journal on their own, they have some really good feedback. So I don't want to go on a tangent on this, but I do want to encourage the men to learn to embrace intimacy outside of the bedroom. Don't just try to be intimate and touching your wife when you're ready to stick it in, okay? Be intimate with her throughout the day. Send a loving text. Send her some flowers sometimes. Bring her some candy. Buy her something nice if that's what you like to do. Compliment her. Tell her she's pretty. Give her a hug. Give her a kiss. Shower her with love outside of the bedroom. And ladies, don't block the love. And what I mean when I say that is be appreciative, be open, be loving. Don't always carry this disdain and correction and complete disgust for your husband, because that is one sure way to shut off the intimacy. Okay. Valerie Y brings up another good point. She says he isn't pulling his share of the household load. Not only am I exhausted, but I feel taken for granted, and I have voiced it. So I'm not interested. So I did ask her, I said, do you feel like if he did take the initiative to lighten your load, that would change things, or is it more to unpack? She says, yes, I will feel way more in tune with him physically. Don't feel it at this moment. And it's got me not interested. I feel like a servant around here and not a partner, not a good feeling. Now, I will say she didn't go into a few other things that would have been helpful here. And at the time, I didn't even think to ask her. But she did not clarify if like she's a stay-at-home mom or if she works as well. But this is a common complaint. And this goes back to what I would offer to the husbands about intimacy beginning outside of the bedroom. Showing up for your wife and helping her to not feel overwhelmed is a sure way to get exactly what you need from her, to get the best version of her. When I am rested, when I am relaxed, when I am well taken care of, and it's not just me, it's also other women, I am more able to show up. I will tell y'all the truth about even my existence on social media. I'm well taken care of. So I have time to lean into my hobbies and to start this entire ministry without feeling like I'm losing aspects of myself. I'm not going to say that my husband helps or does things, because this is as much his life, his house, his children as they are mine. So I really don't call it helping. If I ever use that term, I'm just using it because there's no other phrase that I can use to describe it. But not only with financial provision, but also with this concept of just being attentive, being thoughtful. When my husband is not around, he makes his presence felt. He often sends edible arrangements. He sends nice little texts. He calls me to check on me, right? He doesn't allow me to get to a state of being overwhelmed because he feels like that's his duty as a man to take care of me. And taking care of me is more than just here, food, here, clothing, here, money. It's also to be caring and providing in a way that allows you to exist without stress. And I will continue to add that we can get that as women, wives, listen, if we are providing to our husbands that acceptance, that love, that tender love and care, okay? Treating him in a way that is respectful, submitting to him, allowing him to feel that you trust him, allowing him to lead, not stepping on his toes and trying to control everything all the time, okay? So take that. And then S. Crump, stay-at-home mom, says, I feel disconnected and I'm losing sexual attraction. Like I love him and would never leave him or anything. I'm just not sexually attracted to anyone and disconnected from myself right now. And I asked her, do you have an inkling of why that is? Or do you recall a time when you felt more excited about intimacy? What could he do to change it for you, if anything? Now, this is where she opens up a little bit more. She says, we never spend time together anymore or go on dates. The only time he shows me any type of affection is when he wants intimacy. Right? And so this goes back to the first one that we addressed when user 4891 says that she just doesn't feel like she desires her husband because he's not making the effort to connect outside of the bedroom, right? So I think it's important for us to realize that intimacy is important. And it's not even that the women or the wives don't want it. It's that they don't feel like they have the time and energy to dedicate to having that time because they're overwhelmed, because they don't feel connected to you, and they feel as though you only want connection when it's time to go to bed. And it's almost like, think of your other relationships. Do you only contact your friends when you need something, or is there ongoing communication? Is there ongoing nurturing of that relationship? Do you only call your parents when you need something, or is there ongoing communication? Similarly, are you only trying to be intimate and loving towards your wife when you want to have sex? Or are you doing it in times outside of that? Right? So Jay says, I would say we both value time alone. Me being stay-at-home mom of 4, and home and him being an engineer, we are on two different schedules. I'm a morning person. He's a night owl. After the kids go to bed at 8:30, I take a shower and want to go to bed before 10. So I wake up at 5 to work out and have peace before I have to deal with solo parenting for 10 hours while he plays video games and watches YouTube until about 2. He does the sex tap nightly. Some nights I might wake up, but most nights I don't. I'm not waiting around for the PS5. And I said, do you feel like if he prioritized initiating earlier before you go to bed, you would be up to it? She says, yeah, if we're neglecting our kids or missing work, then yes. I can literally go get all cleaned up and sexy about an hour since we put our kids down for bed and walk into his man cave and see him gaming and instantly get turned off. I feel that he'd rather decompress in that way instead of intimacy, which gets me in my head. Does he still desire me? Am I good enough at sex? It sends me into a spiraling mind wave of triggers and comparison, which makes me not want to be intimate. And I think that is just wow. So I would say that as a man, my question to him would be, is he more interested in the gaming? Is that a way for him to decompress? And is he actually interested in his wife? Now, it could be a few things. I would also say to Jay, I know you're tired and I know that you're a stay-at-home mom and you do this mom shift for 10 hours a day, but are you also putting in time and energy to make him feel welcomed when he comes home? Because typically our men can be standoffish and go off into their corners in their space when they don't feel like we have regard for them. I would challenge any wife in this situation to make the change, as painful as it may feel. Greet your husband when he comes home. Greet him at the door. Give him a kiss, give him a hug. Take his stuff off of him. Tell him you missed him. And do that for a couple weeks, a week or two. And see how that changes things. We think like, oh, I don't want to do that. He doesn't greet me when I come home. But again, we have to take into consideration that men and women are different. And there's something very special about a man being greeted by his family with love when he comes home. I know you're tired, and I'm not taking away from that. And I'm not telling you that you should self-sabotage or sacrifice your sanity for the sake of doing this. But I do think that there's something very special about taking 20 minutes, if you can. And I think you can. 20 minutes when he comes home from work or when he's finished working to focus on him. Let him know you missed him. Give him a little massage, if you will. Rub his back. Bring him a drink. Give him something to eat. Talk to him. Tell him you missed him. And I think we get so far away from that, but we forget that these men fell in love with us because we were so sweet and loving and we paid them this attention. And we used to be excited to see them. We would be excited to see them. Right? And now it's just like, oh. So we want to move away from that too. And I would encourage anybody with this experience where you feel like your husband comes from work and goes straight to his man cave. It may be because he's not feeling valued. He's not feeling appreciated. And he just feels like, oh, whatever, I'm just going to go by myself. Because your husband should take comfort in you. And if he's not, then it's something that maybe we're doing to make him not feel that comfort and to not feel like he's valued in that space, right? So I think that is really important to consider that too. And I don't want to put this all on you. I don't want to give you all of these responsibilities. But I do think that that may be part of it. And I will say, I'm suggesting this to you. This is something that I do myself. I always greet my husband as soon as he comes home. Whatever I'm doing, greet him as soon as he comes home. There was one day he came from out of town. We had argued. And I didn't even know that he was coming. But he came back early because of the argument. And he wanted to talk to me. But when he got home, we hadn't resolved the issue. So when he got home, I was surprised to see him. But I still stopped everything that I was doing. I set those emotions aside and I went to greet him. And it made me feel so much better. It made me feel cared for because I'm getting like worked up talking about it. We had this moment of not being happy with each other or having a spat, whatever you want to call it. We had this disagreement and we didn't hang up on the best of terms. And I was like, we'll talk about it later. And it just made me feel really good that he prioritized coming straight home to deal with it firsthand. It made me feel prioritized. And I'm sure it made him feel good that when he got home, I didn't hold it over his head. And I just went straight to him. I mean, partly because I really did miss him. Like, I miss you more than I want to argue with you, right? But it's also in that everybody goes to greet him when he gets home. Everybody goes to greet him. And he started doing that cringy, weird thing. Cringy to other people, not cringy to me because I love it. He started doing that weird thing where he gives mommy the first kiss. So even if the kids beat me to the door, he gives me the first kiss, the first embrace. And I love that. And I think that it's important that we don't lose out on that, those little childish romantics that we used to do. Because when you were initially falling for this person, when you were initially being with this person to see if this is somebody that you're going to marry, there were all these elements that we take back, right? He was probably more attentive because he wanted you to know that he was interested. You were probably more loving because you also didn't have the burden of 4 children at home, and you didn't have the burden of taking care of that home by yourself for 10 hours every day. But the fact of the matter is, he does still love you and you still love him. That's why you're still married, I hope. But it also doesn't sound like you don't want intimacy. It sounds like you do, but you're trying to figure out why he's prioritizing going to do that in that window of time that you all have together. So I would just challenge you to spend a couple of weeks focusing a little bit more on him and being more intentional with him, not giving up anything, but just taking a few minutes when he gets home to prioritize him. Like, yeah, I'm sure the house is clean, right? I'm sure you prioritize that. Change up your clothes, get fresh. Don't wait for him to get there. Do it when he gets there. And greet him when he comes home. And I think that will change for you, because who's going to pass up their beautiful wife who's clean and ready to go play the game? And if you do that for 2 weeks and that man's still going to play the game, girl, I don't know what to tell you, because something is wrong. Something is wrong. But I think that these topics, these are like recurring themes. There are a few more points that people brought up, but they're not anything new or severely different from what we already discussed. So what I would say with the intimacy problem is that, wives, we have to not allow our house task and the things that we're doing get in the way, while simultaneously, husbands, we cannot negate the fact that our wives need us. Your wives, I'm saying our, I'm not nobody's husband. Your wives need you to be present in more ways than one. Your wives need you to connect with them outside of the bedroom. They need to feel connected throughout the day. You need to be intimate throughout the day. And I think the other thing is also just having that self-control sometimes to know that she's not turning you down. It's just not a good time. Now, if it's always not a good time, ladies, that's not fair. And I'll leave that at that. But thank you for joining me for another episode. I will see you next week at the same time.